that you read, the more things you'll know. The more that you learn, the more places you'll go. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us to read. Reading has the power to open our eyes, open our hearts, and truly transform us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the Muslim Bookshelf, Islam Channel's first ever book show. I'm your host, Naima B. Robert. Now, I'm an author, an editor, a book coach, but most importantly, I'm a reader, just like you. Now, in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala advises us, commands us to read. And indeed, reading and the knowledge that we gain in the process has the power to open our eyes, open our hearts, and truly transform us spiritually, intellectually, emotionally, and more. So, are you ready to transform? Then get ready for the Muslim Bookshelf. Now today I am so excited to be sitting down with Suma Din, author of the brand new book, Dear Mother, Letters from the Heart.
I work a lot in the community and I write for women particularly and for children. Becoming an author was just a gradual process. I started with writing educational materials and my first book was for Muslim women called Turning the Tide, Reawakening the Woman's Heart and Soul. And then it's just progressed to writing about issues that really concern me and I can see are not being addressed always in a holistic way. So I think of projects and I write around where I see a need, both for children and for adult readers. The way writing works and the type of writing I do doesn't leave that much free time for like typical hobbies, but the way I like to use my time is being outdoors, being in nature, especially anywhere where there's water, anywhere where there's trees, which is very easy in England, and wherever I can just be outside and really enjoy just the experience of being amongst the elements. That's something that I really crave. Apart from that, I enjoy water painting as a recreation. I enjoy time with some really good friends, and the local community I'm in is a very active one. So they're not strictly hobbies, but those are the ways I choose to use my time when it's not with my work or my family. What drives me as an author is to write about issues, societal issues particularly, that are not being addressed. My special area is for Muslim women, Muslim mothers in particular, and the education sector. So when I find that there are important changes going on in society that we need to address as Muslim women, that's something I want to write about, and that's where a lot of my writing starts.
Assalamu alaikum, sis.
Wa alaikum assalam, Naima. Thank you so much.
So wonderful to have you with us, mashallah. So we're here to talk about your new book, Dear Mother, Letters from the Heart. But how do you introduce yourself to people nowadays? Because I know that you've done a lot and you've written so many other books, but nowadays, how do you introduce yourself?
It's a simple introduction. I'm an author, a writer, and I teach, so I'm a teacher. So those are my two main areas that I introduce myself with.
And this book, how do you describe it to others?
Okay, so Dear Mother, Letters from the Heart, as the subtitle says, is a compendium of fictional letters. They're written from mothers and women to other mothers.
Right.
And every letter is a standalone letter which explores an aspect or a situation or a stage of motherhood. And it's these fictional letters brought together that make Dear Mother.
And I want to say, mashallah, I've read the book and such a broad depth of study in there, of experience in there, of approaches to the topic of motherhood. I want to say that the book feels amazing.
It does.
It looks amazing. It reads beautifully. So we're going to dive in, inshallah, into some of, just a few of the passages and a few of the letters in here, because, I mean, all 30 letters are amazing. But let me put you on the spot about just a few, inshallah. So first, I think, let's give the audience a taste of how the book sounds. Would you like to read a little bit from the introduction?
Sure.
That would be amazing.
So my introduction, of course, because it is a book of letters, is a letter. You know, what else could it be?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to read a little bit that addresses the reader directly. So, Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Dear reader, in a book of fictional letters, the introduction has to be a letter, and it has to be a real one to you. We don't know each other, but we have one thing in common. We started life in our mother's wombs. What happened to both of us after our births may be very different, but our shared beginning is enough of a connection between us. It's this universal connection that makes the subject of motherhood so emotive. Unlike any other relationship, this tie of the womb gives birth to an array of deeply held feelings based on our own experiences. As much as childhood is a time of innocence, growth, awe and wonder, nurturing a child isn't a parallel experience. Motherhood is a magnificent, humbling, chaotic experience, physically, emotionally, mentally and spiritually. It's an ongoing, invisible labour of love, long after the umbilical cord is cut. Given the strong views held, why would I or anyone else write about the maternal journey? I've questioned myself about this scores of times. The answer lies at the source of most endeavours. If we dig deep enough, it's personal. So here's a window into my mothering experience and the motivation for writing this book. And the rest is in the letter.
And you have to read the first letter for you to understand, you know, what your journey was, Suma, as you went on this book. Now, I want to share just a little portion of letter 1, because I think that a lot of our viewers will resonate with this. So, you say in the book, and this is about the job of mothering, right? So, the idea of mothering as a job. Do you have a job even as a mum? So you say, maybe it's the way we are asked the dreaded, so what do you do? It's such a loaded question, full of historical, cultural, social and economic shifts that have taken place and then used as a search warrant to analyse our lives. And it's that tone, you know, that one. It's not once or twice I've had that question asked with a sneer. When the questioner knows I don't have a paid job, but get some pleasure reinforcing their own assumptions and bias. And you raised yourself is what I felt like saying a few times, but of course I didn't. Talk to me a little bit about this idea of us feeling like being a mother isn't enough of a job, that we need to justify that with doing something else. What inspired that first letter?
Yeah, that letter's come from that whole discourse around, you know, what our value is as a woman, as a mother, as a person. And it's often linked nowadays, because this is about our contemporary struggles and our contemporary challenges. It's linked very much to, you know, what do you do as a job? What title do you have? And as people, you know, of course we have skills, we have abilities, we have talents, and we're meant to use them. So it's not about, that letter in particular is not about shunning work in any way, but it's saying, hang on, when you're a mother raising your children, you are absolutely working.
Absolutely.
Never ever, and it starts, that letter starts actually by between two women who know each other, and one is saying to the other one, I'm not doing much nowadays, I'm just doing the kids stuff.
Oh my goodness, when I read that I said, oh, I could just, if someone could pay me for the number of times I've heard sisters saying, I'm just at home, I'm just a mum, I'm just doing the kids, wow.
And I've said it in the beginning, when I started out as a mum, I would say that, because you're finding your feet in this world which has a value system that doesn't count the mother's work as work. And in the same letter again I say, well, you know, if we use that value system of what constitutes work, our jobs that we're doing, raising families, raising the next generation, supporting society by doing this, is at least equivalent, I mean, at least to 5 professionals daily.
Absolutely.
They wouldn't really be able to cover what a mother's doing. 5 minimum would be on, you know, on call if a mother was to just stop doing what she's doing. So it's about valuing and not not actually apologising for the work that we do, but for us seeing it as work before we feed into these sort of more sort of negative, devaluing discourses.
Yeah. I think it's an internal shift first and foremost, isn't it? And I think that's what I got from that letter, mashallah. The third letter. The third letter is a lot of fun because you talk in that letter about the different cultural traditions around postpartum, which I found really interesting because obviously we have the Islamic rulings on postpartum, but anything else is, especially in our modern day, is, you know, completely like, okay, just get back on your feet and get back to it, you know, and I'm sure so many viewers can recognize themselves in that postpartum situation. Firstly, I want to know, how did you go about the research for that, and did you enjoy it?
I loved doing that letter because it was real. Nearly every letter has involved research of some have involved a lot more, others have been more from experience and observation. But with that one, I actually spoke to my own mother quite a lot about traditions in Bangladesh when she was young and what she observed. And then I had contacts with a wonderful Somali auntie who I've never met, but you know, she generously agreed to be interviewed by me, and so we had a long phone conversation about what she's still doing now as a grandmother to support her children's children and to support, you know, her in her community to keep those traditions alive. Because when a mother has a baby, they need care. We know, obviously, the default is we know the baby needs care, but the mother needs a huge amount of care. And with modern day society, there's so much pressure on looking
getting
like
back
you were
to your
before,
pre-pregnancy shape.
And being able to sort of have a badge of honour that a week later you can zip around Sainsbury's and you can do everything that you used to do. And you're kind of a winner, you're a strong woman then. But actually, biologically, we're not meant to be doing that. And it's always going to be an individual choice, of course. But the traditions that went into that letter, I think I've covered Morocco, Somaliland, Pakistan and Bangladesh as sort of 4 regions of what they did. And there's a lot about herbal healing, a lot about actual massage and taking care of the woman's body, but also of her mind. Aromatherapy practices. These are coming from villages.
This is true. Before they had fancy names for them, like aromatherapy and you know, bougie titles.
And you know, things that you need, gadgets. There was just hands-on care, healthy food, home-cooked food, things that are healing for the mother's womb, for her body. And you can see that with all the changes that a woman goes through, pre-pregnant, you know, during pregnancy, pre-birth, and then post, that is so necessary to bring that harmony for her mind, her body, and the wellness of the baby and herself. So research was actually asking veterans themselves.
I love that. I love that. We need the voices of this older generation, you know, and I love the fact that you were able to capture many of the voices of the older generation in this book.
That was very deliberate.
Yeah, I'm glad you did that, Suma, because as you know, as we know, our parents are aging, you know, some of us have lost parents, aunties, uncles, and the knowledge and experience and the history really of that generation is at risk of being lost unless it's being captured, you know, orally and also in the written form. So I'm really glad that you did that.
I do really feel this book is like almost like an archive of our current day challenges and celebrations as mother as well. It's not all, you know, doom and gloom.
No, not at all.
There's a lot of milestones that are celebrated in this book that are explored, but it does feel like we need, and the time felt right, that we need to have this recorded, not just on social media, where actually our elderly are not there.
No. And nothing is recorded on social media. Nothing is recorded.
It's very transient.
Exactly, it's so transient. And unfortunately, people do put so much effort into creating posts and photos and reels and videos that really in a week's time will no longer be relevant.
Exactly.
So I want to take another quote from the book. And if the audience is paying attention, I'm sure you can hear the beautiful writing in this book, and I'm not speaking to Sister Suma now, I'm speaking directly to you guys, because that is one thing that I definitely appreciate in a piece of literature, in a book, and that is when the author has really taken the time to communicate her thoughts in a beautiful, powerful way, and mashallah, this book does that really well. So I'm going to read to the audience now, Suma, sorry, excuse me, but you say in the book, this is in letter 4, I remember feeling like I've got to go back to normal, as everyone expects, like there's an inconspicuous pressure to be seen as coping with everything perfectly. We tend to look at other mothers going back to work soon after the delivery and think we have to function at the same level, even if we're feeling exhausted and run down. But one person's normal doesn't have to be another person's goal. I think that's a really powerful summing up of what you've been saying, mashallah. I love that you gave us permission, you know, and I think that's what a lot of the letters do, and I think maybe even the whole book is about giving permission to women to be all these mothers.
Absolutely. And we're all different. So one of the reviews that came back recently, I don't know who wrote this, but I'm very grateful to them, whoever that was, is that she said this is not something that's patronising, and it's not preaching, and it's not telling you how to parent.
It's
and that's
real.
Exactly.
It's
just real.
It's real.
And it's saying we're all different,
Yeah.
but our work needs to be discussed. It needs to be on the table.
Yeah.
It needs to be part of every section of society's agenda.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
we're the backbone.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's not a platitude. It's not a platitude. It's not just a nice saying or narration or hadith that you know you can say to make yourself feel good. It is actually it is what it is, and the fact that, like you said, so many women feel that although they have been given this role and this amana of these children to raise to become functioning adults, we still feel unworthy, we still feel inadequate, we still feel like we're not enough. Yeah. And I think that the way that when I read the book, what I came away with was just how many women will feel seen through some of these letters. Was it a conscious decision to really reach far and wide, really, to get all these different mothering experiences? Tell us how you approached that.
Yes, that was very conscious. And I think it's been something that has been a lived experience for me since I became a mother.
SubhanAllah.
So there is both the professional side. I've done a research book which was taking the voices of and the narratives of Muslim mothers in England and their interface with the education section. So that's something I've done very purposefully and then written a book about it. Yeah. But apart from that, my entire mothering experience of well over 2 decades has always been having this conversation going on and listening to, what are we as mothers making of motherhood? And then what are we as Muslim mothers making of motherhood? Are we writing our framework? Are we creating our framework, or are we sort of ending up confused? Because I've been through that confusion, right? So it's not like I had all the answers. I've been through the confusion. I've been through the tears and the not understanding, well, am I this, am I that, and then having to work it out, but on our terms, with an akhirah focus, with a deen focus, and with the confidence that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us this role. And He knows the reward, and He knows what we're doing, and He is the one to reward it. But we have to take that with both hands and say that in all these different mothering experiences, we have a common thread. And that thread is we have our deen. And we have to enact that, not just be passive recipients of, okay, there's this hadith, there's these ayat in the Quran about motherhood, but we have to take it with both hands and enact it now in this contemporary society. And Dear Mother is really exploring that. It's, if there was one word I had to sum the book up, it'd be questions. It's asking the reader to question her assumptions about motherhood. And to question what she thinks about motherhood and why she thinks it. It's about critical thinking.
It is very critical thinking. And there's in I think it's the 7th letter which is about raising sons.
Yes.
There's an amazing exchange that you write where this woman is banging the table and saying, "There's boys! There's boys! They are the problem. They're the ones who are just driving us, crazy." Talk to us a little bit about the reflections that you came out with about specifically raising sons like celebrities. I found that really interesting. Do you want to just touch on that?
Yeah, that's coming from, again, my work in the community. I've taught in the supplementary Islamic studies sector for well into 3 decades. And so you come across a lot of parents, a lot of mothers, like countless mothers I've had one-to-one discussions with. Some of it's coming from these discussions. Some of it's coming from professional work where I worked in the family learning sector. And so, yes, I was running courses for parents and had many, many situations where majority of my classes were Muslim mothers.
Right.
So I've had a disproportionate, in a good way, a disproportionate amount of communication and interaction with Muslim mothers. And this thing about boys, it affects every culture in different ways. But there is, unfortunately, one of these threads about them being put on a pedestal that runs through different cultures. Hopefully things are changing, and inshallah will change even more with our generation. Understanding sort of equity, not identicalness, because we're not going to fall into that trap, but the equity and the difference and the beauty of the difference between sons and daughters. And not actually putting them on this pedestal, which that mother in that book is so frustrated by.
She had lost it by that point.
Because
she was so frustrated.
They're seeing this from 2 angles, Nima. One, the fathers who were raised like that, and then perpetuating the cycle. And then they're seeing it as an inherited thing that their sons have picked up.
Right.
And they're fighting. And these matriarchs that are unnamed, are all over the country, I have the utmost respect for, because they are literally fighting battles to change the narrative, as she said in that book. And, she's challenging it. And she's challenging the attitude that there's this superiority just by virtue of being born as a boy.
And I think the part that I found really interesting in her, like, tirade, if you want, is how she said, we did this to them. We told them they didn't have to be a part of the household. They didn't need to get permission. They didn't need to clean. We made their sisters do everything for them. But I think the line that I remember is something similar to, these boys are now a liability. They're out of control. They're on the streets. They have no purpose. They have no direction. So in a way, the spoiling that seemed to be this kind of birthright actually makes them less as men, even if you look at it in the traditional sense.
Of course,
and not at all what we're trying to do here, So
and we're seeing that around us. I see that. I see it out on the streets. To be fair and to be balanced, that letter also does talk about the many excellent, wonderful young men coming up. Yes,
I remember that's followed up by that.
Coming back into the community and contributing so much, even if they've had a shaky start. And so we do have both, of course, but we can't ignore, and this whole book is about not sweeping things under the carpet.
Oh, trust me when I say there's nothing swept under the rug in this book, guys.
Everything's taken out.
Everything is underneath, is sweeping out, a proper spring clean, and an analysis and a breaking down and a contextualizing, I think.
That's what such a key word for this.
It's sweeping everything out from under the rug and then putting it into this context of faith, this context of akhirah, and this context of it's okay that we're the ones doing this now in this modern day, I think that sometimes, because the modern day is so different to the past and our way can seem so alien in the modern context, it's almost like you feel like I shouldn't be doing this in this modern context. There has to be a different way. And I think one of the things that I took from the letters, many of the letters in the book, is, again, putting it in that modern context and almost comforting the mother to say, it's okay. It's okay. We've got this. We can do this, even now, even with the society as it is.
And we've got to keep reshaping.
Yeah.
There's nothing in our deen that says it's all cast in stone.
Yeah.
Only what's sacred is cast in
Yes.
stone. How we create the culture around that,
Yeah.
it's in our hands.
Yeah.
So a lot of the letters are trying to, I try not to use the word empower loosely, but they really are trying to empower the mothers
Yeah.
to say, you know, be confident
Yes.
with what you can do,
Yeah.
with your circumstance, and with the one thing that we've all got in common, which is the sacred
Yeah.
tenets of our position.
Yeah, absolutely, mashallah, absolutely. I would love it if you could touch on the, this is from the 16th letter, where you talk about the act of giving and burnout and the importance of self-care. What made you decide to include that letter? Just a question, you know, no.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, personal experience. I've been there, mashallah, my 3 children are grown-up adults now, but when I had them, alhamdulillah, there were 3 of them under 6.
Wow.
At one point,
mashallah.
yeah, right at the most sort of critical point. And so I know what it feels like, and I have no, you know, qualms about discussing that as I have, even though they're fictional, but obviously some of it is going to be informed by my experience. I think what's happened now is that there's so many expectations on women and expectations on mothers that the issue of burnout's become a bit more critical.
Right. Since your day.
Yes, since my day, and then even more critical since, say, a generation before us, since my mother's time, where they didn't have that vocabulary.
No.
They got tired, but they had other systems as well.
But they had the village. They had the village.
And
which
they just didn't have those expectations on themselves either. There's so much that is expected now, and often women can sometimes be the worst enemies of each other, unfortunately. Mothers can judge mothers.
Those.
And, you know, and that can contribute to this feeling of constantly giving and giving and giving, because there's the academic, the education, there's the spiritual, the moral.
So many levels.
There's so many areas, the emotional, the mental well-being. You know, mental health in those ways wasn't a conversation for a lot of our mothers and grandmothers. You know, they did talk about well-being, of course, in their own ways, in their own cultures, but it wasn't as stark as the needs are now. So burnout, I think there's 2 letters which discuss this type of giving. One is the primary school playground, which can be an absolute psychological battleground for moms, poor moms. But it's a reality. Again, this is why I have one whole letter on that. And I think number 16 was about just depletion. And that's when we're not investing in ourselves. Whatever that looks like. So I'm not, you know, promoting any particular industry of self-care, because everybody's self-care will be different. Some countries have got it just right. They all sleep in the afternoon. They have siestas. The mothers who sleep rejuvenate. They can cope better in the afternoon, in the evening. That's great. That's on a national level. They do that kind of looking after themselves.
Can you imagine?
We don't do that here. We just keep going and going and going. So everyone's need for investment will be different. That's why I don't go anywhere near suggesting this is right and this isn't. Everyone has different needs. But the fact is we have a need. We have a need to refill spiritually and emotionally. We have a need to refill physically because our work is so demanding.
Yes, exactly. And I think that comes through very strongly in the book, is that, you know, giving permission, giving us really, the reader, permission to be honest, to be real, to accept the need, you know, and to know that it's okay to take care of those needs, right? MashaAllah. I have a beautiful quote here from the last letter, which is that full circle moment of seeing your own daughter become a mother, mashallah, tabarakallah. And you say, all at once, the universe seems to have expanded and gathered all that is good within it to bring you the gift of motherhood. And all at once, the universe seems to have shrunk, and I see the silky wisp of your hair and the tightly clenched small palms return brand new in this new soul you cradle. A sea of gratitude sweeps over any thoughts or emotions, undulating gratitude for what is beyond our power, the creation of a new being. a unique being with thousands of cells and nerves all interconnected, cycles and circles spinning out the invisible threads of lineage over time to create the scene before my eyes.
It's nice to, I think, after I went through so many different topics in this book, as you'll know, to bring it back at the end to something where, again, they're fictional, but to just bring back that there's this miraculous cycle that goes on. Subhanallah, what a cycle. And, you know, birth is a miracle.
Yeah.
And it's something that we have so much gratitude. You just can never really get your head around once you start contemplating, as we're told to do, to reflect and to contemplate. And the signs within ourselves are some of the hugest things to contemplate.
Absolutely.
And the birth of another bit of your own son or daughter's baby is
it's amazing.
It is
that
amazing.
felt real, like that felt like it was from the heart, from you.
I hope all of it's from the heart, but it's fictionalized.
Yes. But it was, I mean, it's one of my favorite pieces, my favorite passages from the book, mashallah. So, everyone, you know you have to get the book, of course. Dear Mother, Letters from the Heart by Suma Din. Sis, what are you working on at the moment? What is it? Have you got anything coming up, and how can people connect with you?
Okay, so at the moment, there's something in the embryonic stage.
Nice, I like.
A children's something. Just
nice.
Penciling out ideas on that. I have some short stories, which again are focusing on women. So they're more like observations. They're there. I'm not sure where they're going to go, but they're there. They're
going to be good.
They're collecting. They're just vignettes again. They're not stories, but they're just moments in time that speak quite a bit. And yes, people can connect with my work on Rooted Writer and on Instagram, and my name on Facebook, but I tend to use Instagram for book.
Wonderful, yeah.
Book info.
Instagram is a great place. So Rooted Writer on Instagram, everyone. And I would like to say, do go onto Cube or Amazon to search up Suma Din to find more of her books, because yes, she has written more. It's just that this is the beautiful new book, so we're focusing on this one today, but she has several other amazing works of literature, research. You've done academic, you've done, self-help, children, so many, mashallah. So please do check Sister Suma Din out on Amazon or on your Google search. Google is your friend in this regard. Sis, Jazakallah khairan for joining us. It's an honor to have you on the Muslim bookshelf. I'm excited to see where you go next and to see the impact that this book will have along with all your others, inshallah. And I make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts this book on Muslim bookshelves all over the world. Ya Rab, make it happen. Jazakallah khairan.
Barakallah fi and Ameen. And thank you so much, Naima, for inviting me to this, and I hope there's so many people that benefit from all the books you'll be reviewing and all the authors you'll be talking to. It's a wonderful opportunity, so thank you very much.
For more books about the Muslim woman's journey through life and faith, check out our recommended reading list. Builders of a Nation by Sheikh Haifa Yunus. When the Two Seas Meet by Mumtaz Rafi. Turning the Tide, Reawakening the Woman's Heart and Soul